An update on All Elite Wrestling's prospects for the next broadcast rights deal have been discussed. WWE Creative has seen major changes in the last couple of weeks, with Vince McMahon being removed from creative and Triple H once again having total control of the creative process in WWE. Details on that. Plus, Mark Henry has defended CM Punk's attitude when he was a part of All Elite Wrestling. Jade Cargill makes another appearance on NXT this week. Trick Williams is attacked backstage. An update on Von Wagner after he was gruesomely attacked by Bron Breakker several weeks ago. Brian Pilman Jr., his debut is set for next week on NXT Halloween Havoc. Chase U are the new number one contenders for the NXT Tag Team Championships. We've got details on the ratings for this past week's season premiere episode of Monday Night Raw, and an update on Bianca Belair and when we can expect to see the EST of WWE return to television. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about AEW and a TV deal, and really talk has gone quite quiet of this new television deal that All Elite Wrestling could find themselves with Warner Bros. Discovery. AEW is set to negotiate its media rights with Warner Bros. Discovery at some point fairly soon, as the current media rights deal expires at the end of December 2024. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer pointed out a report from the Sports Business Journal and how he feels it will play into AEW's eventual negotiations. Quote, "There's a big article on rights fees and talked about WWE, didn't talk about AEW," Meltzer said. Talked a lot about NASCAR, some NBA. The thing is, it's not promising for AEW to get the deal it looked like they would get a year ago because things have changed, end quote. Meltzer says sports like the NBA and NASCAR are experiencing downward trends, which doesn't bode well for niche content like WWE or AEW. Quote, "NBA, their deal's up at the end of the 2024-25 season, and everyone's going to want them, and I think the AEW deal in many ways depends on the NBA," he said. Quote, "If Warner Bros. Spends enough to keep the NBA, with their revenue declining most likely, that would mean it would be tough for AEW to get a giant number. If they lose the NBA, at that point AEW becomes so much more valuable because they don't have the NBA anymore. That's something to watch for," end quote. Now, Meltzer says that even if AEW got a huge pay-per-view increase, they'd still be a, quote, "bargain compared to WWE's current media rights deals." Meltzer sees AEW as being underpriced as the strength for them. He said, quote, "We'll see," Meltzer concluded, with a final note that the days of niche sports getting large media deals appeared to be dying. So the question then becomes, what do you think? What deal do you think AEW will get? Do you think they'll get a big increase? Do you think they'll get a modest increase? Or do you think they'll stay on the current number that they're on right now? Let me know your thoughts and predictions about that and when we could expect those news in the comments section below. Now, an update on creative in WWE. This has been a big topic, hasn't it, over the last few weeks, with Endeavor really putting their foot down about what they want to see when it comes to creative from WWE and who they want to be heading up what we see creatively on WWE television. Now, if you've liked, for instance, Monday Night Raw over the last couple of weeks, you might be in luck. Fightful had reported 3 weeks ago that WWE Raw was feeling more of a Triple H influence unimpeded than recent months. It's since been revealed by multiple different outlets and reports that Ari Emanuel, the TKO CEO, wanted that, as Vince McMahon is on other tasks and Triple H is leading the charge creatively. What we've seen since is numerous talent returning to the show, long-signed wrestlers finally making their debuts, several cameos, more women's talent getting screen time, longer matches, and less restrictions in the ring. WWE sources have told Fightful Select that they expect this to continue, and the adjustment seemed, quote, overnight. Even though Vince McMahon didn't interact directly with creative this year, his influence was felt throughout that period, especially with people who would and wouldn't appear on the show. One WWE source said to Fightful that they felt the matches that have been on the show in the last few weeks between Ivar and Kofi Kingston, Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura, and Gunther and Bronson Reed were very important in establishing the in-ring aspect of Monday Night Raw. While one writer has said that many of the Vince McMahon changes were minimal throughout the year, Fightful are told that the adjustments have freshened up things and relaxed the process now that Raw has a much more wide open roster of talent to implement and use. Outside of Raw after WrestleMania, which internally, according to Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp, was viewed as a creative disaster, McMahon wasn't making the changes in person, instead doing it remotely. Even though there was a long reputation of Vince making last-minute changes, it would also happen throughout the weekend, as we saw with the Knicks DIY reunion from the summer. When McMahon would learn the creative plans, remote adjustments would be made along the way, and he would indicate wrestlers he did or didn't want on the show. One writer said, quote, "Well, I guess he wasn't lying when he said he wasn't in the weeds, but in a way, he just sprayed Roundup on the weeds and checked in on them every so often," end quote. So it really does look like now Vince McMahon's, even his remote influence has really dissipated a lot, with Ari Emanuel being the person who really has implemented a strategy of Triple H focuses on his job of creative and Vince McMahon focuses on his job of the wider business things involving WWE. Do you think this is a positive, and have you seen the influence of Triple H on WWE programming, particularly Monday Night Raw, in recent weeks? Now, Mark Henry has defended CM Punk and his maybe stubbornness in AEW. Of course, this is prior to CM Punk being fired. AEW's Mark Henry, who has supported CM Punk in the past, has stated that the former AEW star's old school mentality is not a bad thing. Henry made an appearance on Booker T's Hall of Fame show recently, where the two Hall of Famers and WWE NXT commentator stated that Punk didn't try to bring up the younger stars of AEW. Henry disagreed with Booker T's assessment, stating that the former AEW World Champion tried to uplift the younger stars. The AEW star expressed admiration for Punk's conviction and suggested that there might have been a clash between Punk's old school mentality and the younger star's differing perspectives during his spell in AEW. Quote, "I feel like Punk is a lot like some of the people in sports that I know. The people in sports hate the fact that college football and college students are getting paid money now. It's an old school mentality, and the old school mentality rubs young people the wrong way," said Henry. "Some people are stuck in their ways, Book, and Punk is stuck in his ways, and that's not a knock. I like conviction. I like somebody that can stand to their guns and they can debate with you on the fact that, you know what, this is why sometimes being old will save your life, because I know better. I experienced it. I went through the fire. I feel like Punk's delivery of some of that conviction fell on deaf ears." Now, in his 2-year run with AEW, Punk fell out with multiple wrestlers, and his altercation with Jack Perry backstage at AEW All In ultimately cost his job. The backstage incident with Perry might have been one of the instances of Punk's advice falling on deaf ears, as alluded to by Mark Henry during his appearance on Booker T's podcast. What are your thoughts on Henry's comments there? Do you agree with him, or do you think it's Henry just backing up who clearly is someone he supports? Now, Jade Cargill made another appearance last night on WWE NXT, the latest in her teases of her impending WWE in-ring debut. Jade Cargill made another appearance on NXT, but this time it was not just a casual stroll through the parking lot of the Performance Center. Rather, Jade sent a clear message to the NXT women's locker room despite using no words at all. After the main event segment saw Carmelo Hayes defeat Baron Corbin and Dijak to earn a title shot against Ilya Dragunov, the show didn't stop there. In a backstage segment, Lyra Valkyria was seen looking on before she turned her attention to a poster-sized photo print of a behind-the-scenes snap of herself and Becky Lynch, who she set for a match with for the NXT Women's Championship next week. Taking down the poster and vowing to defeat Becky, she ripped the poster in half and was so caught up in her intense moment that she seemed to entirely miss what had appeared on a TV screen right next to her. Jade Cargill was shown appearing silently, but rather motioning towards her watch and tapping the face. WWE shared the clip along with a caption of 3 clock emojis, so make of that what you will. Even without the potential appearance of Jade Cargill, next week's Night 1 of NXT Halloween Havoc is shaping up to be a big night with various matches being announced. Do you think we could see Jade Cargill finally get physical next week, or is this just a case of more teases regarding where she could end up either on Raw, on NXT, or on SmackDown? Now, we've got a mystery in NXT. We've got a whodunit. Who attacked Trick Williams backstage last night during the broadcast? A WWE star was in storyline rushed to hospital after a backstage attack last night, causing him to be pulled from the main event match. After the main event of last night's NXT saw the new number 1 contender to Ilya Dragunov and the NXT Championship being confirmed, earlier on in the night, the match was revealed to be a 4-way with the addition of Trick Williams instead of the originally announced 3-way between Carmelo Hayes, Baron Corbin, and Dijak. This left Carmelo Hayes shocked that Williams would seemingly go back on their agreement. However, with Baron Corbin and Dijak looking on in disbelief, Williams was unapologetic for taking his shot. While the initial segment saw Mello and Trick joining together to run off Corbin and Dijak, there was clear tension between the two when they spoke later in the locker room. However, Williams would never make the main event as he was attacked backstage, with cameras only catching the fallout from the event, not who actually did it. As Carmelo Hayes rushed to Trick's side, he questioned what happened, but neither the officials nearby nor Trick answered. Rather, Williams would be announced as having been injured and taken to the hospital, with the match returning to the original format of a three-way match, which Hayes won, and the mystery as to attacked Williams remains. Ilya Dragunov will defend his NXT Championship against Carmelo Hayes at NXT Halloween Havoc Night 2 on October 31st. Who do you think was the person behind this attack on Trick Williams? Is it obvious? Isn't it obvious? Let me know your thoughts and predictions about that in the comment section below. Now, an update on Von Wagner. The first time we've heard from him from several weeks after his gruesome attack by Bron Breakker on him last month. Now, last month, as I mentioned, Bron Breakker used steel steps to seemingly crush the head of Von Wagner after a series of vignettes detailed Wagner's real-life stories of childhood skull surgeries due to a rare medical condition. Since the incident, Wagner has been described as being in the hospital with an overall unclear prognosis. Now, an on-television update as Von Wagner made his first post-attack appearance, participating in physical therapy. While he struggled to walk and even use resistant bands, he got a fierce pep talk from Mr. Stone, which encouraged him to continue working. Meanwhile, back at the Performance Center, Bron Breakker had a backstage interview segment where he was unimpressed by Wagner's progress when he was interrupted by Stone. After a passionate promo from Stone, he challenged Bron Breakker to a match at NXT Halloween Havoc. So that storyline continues there. Now, an update on Brian Pillman Jr. in NXT, as well as he's set to make his NXT debut very soon. With the former Brian Pillman Jr. appearing on NXT in a series of vignettes, he has informed fans that he is rebranding his new moniker, Lexis King. Last night, King discussed the fact when legends of the business have praised his father, he has always lied in response, commenting that he loved his father too. In actuality, King says he didn't really know him, and Pillman Sr., quote, spent more nights in a hotel room than my home, end quote. King went on to say that he would be making his debut at Halloween Havoc next week on October 24, and it's the beginning of his career, not the continuation of someone else's. King vowed to take the first steps in forging his own path with the goal of making his name bigger than Brian Pillman's ever was. And he actually made his, or has already made his NXT in-ring debut off television at a recent live event as well. But what are your thoughts on the former Brian Pillman Jr. set to be making his WWE in-ring debut next week on NXT? Chase U are the new number one contenders for the NXT Tag Team Championships. It was a first-of-a-kind, actually, match last night on NXT. Last night on NXT, the first ever Bada Bing, Bada Boom Tag Team Battle Royal for a shot at Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo's NXT Tag Team Championship. The match began as an over-the-top rope battle royal, and once one member of the team was eliminated, their partner was eliminated too. While the already eliminated teams continued to brawl at ringside, distracting the referees, the field was trimmed to 3. The final 3 teams were the Creed brothers, Chase U, and Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. It was then that Carrillo was sent over the top rope, but because Garza encouraged him to get back in the ring and eliminate the Creed brothers while the referee were busy on the outside of the ring, they didn't see Carrillo get eliminated. Instead, Garza and Carrillo then eliminated the Creed brothers, which the referees did see, leaving the final 2 teams as Garza and Carrillo and Chase U to compete in a regular tag match to complete the bout. With the support of JC Jane and Thea Hale and interference from the Creed brothers to get revenge, it was Chase U who won the regular match that took place between the final 2 teams. Chase U will now challenge Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo, who are watching from the balcony where they appeared to be enjoying a spaghetti and meatball dinner complete with red wine for the NXT Tag Team Championships at Halloween Havoc. So congratulations to them. And we have the ratings for this week's edition of Monday Night Raw, the season premiere of Raw on USA Network as well. The Dallas Cowboys and Los Angeles Chargers, as well as a postseason baseball, took a bite out of WWE's ratings on Monday. WrestleNomics is reporting that WWE Raw was down 5% in overall viewership, with 1.483 million viewers tuning in. However, the show was up by 4% in the age 18 to 49 category, with 589,000 viewers tuning in from that coveted demographic. The news comes after SmackDown saw the opposite occur, with a small increase in the overall demographic, while in overall viewership while the 18 to 49 was down slightly. The overall audience highest rated segment of the October 16 episode of the flagship program was the war of words between WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins and his crown jewel opponent Drew McIntyre. Meanwhile, the 18 to 49 demographic tuned in for Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley's match with Shayna Baszler. The lowest rated segment for both the overall audience and the 18 to 49 demographic was a video hyping up Kofi Kingston, as well as the backstage segment that involved WWE Intercontinental Champion Gunther and the rest of Imperium following Gunther's successful title defense against Big Bronson Reed. The show was headlined by the Judgment Day regaining the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships, defeating Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso in a main event rematch from WWE Fastlane. The show also featured a match between Ludwig Kaiser and Johnny Gargano, who is still in the honeymoon phase of his reunion with his DIY partner Tommaso Ciampa. Also featured on the show was the highly lauded Falls Count Anywhere match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Ricochet. Finally, an update on Bianca Belair and when we can expect the EST of WWE to return to WWE television. Bianca Belair's return from her well-deserved break is coming sooner rather than later. According to a new report from PW Insider, Belair could be back on WWE TV potentially as early as this week's episode of SmackDown on October 20. Belair is also slated to be part of WWE's next premium live event, Crown Jewel, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Belair's most recent in-ring match was on the August 18 episode of SmackDown, where she and Charlotte Flair defeated Damage Control's Bayley and Women's Champion Io Sky. Later in the episode, Belair was written out of television in a backstage segment that saw Damage Control attack her knee. Belair revealed last month some things she's been up to since August in an interview with Metro, a list of activities that included working on a children's book and binge-watching Peacock's Temptation Island. Speaking of reality TV, PW Insider's report also provided an update on the reality series starring Belair and her husband, fellow WWE star Montez Ford. Per PW Insider, the show will be streaming on Hulu by early 2024, with WWE Studios being one of the producers. Belair returns just in time to potentially confront former AEW TBS champion Jade Cargill, who was signed by WWE in September. Several people online have suggested that they would like to see Belair face off against Cargill in the future. But there you go, guys. That's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.